Hello guys, my name is Desmond. A very warm welcome to my lesson for today, where we will be looking at mathematics as I've indicated. So ladies and gentlemen, as always, please do allow me to say it is very much important that I say it is very much important because what I'm about to say, it's massively. Hey, massively important, ladies and gentlemen, that I say day without learning something new, it's a day wasted. By so saying, pal buddy, please do make sure that by the end of each and every lesson that I conduct, you learn something new. Very much important, ladies and gentlemen, over there. So without wasting much of our precious time, this is what I'm going to do. On that same question paper that you guys confirmed that you did receive in the group, I'm going to quickly read through that given statement, go through that diagram, and then straight away we answer the questions. Most importantly, I would like to remind you guys that it's load shedding on my side. So just in case if I'm breaking or the screen is blurry, just let me know immediately so that I can try do something differently, just to make sure that our recording comes out perfectly. Just in case if in future you want to catch up, you are going to be having a perfect recording. So question number 3 of this question paper is what we will be looking at. So the statement reads as follows. In the diagram, A, where is A? Let me get a black pen there to locate A. Can you see? This is point A, where X is -2, Y is 3. C being 10 and 11. Where is C? Oh, there is C being 10 and 11. Yes, it makes sense because it's in the first quadrant, X and Y positive. And D, where is, oh, there is D, X being 5, Y being -1, are the vertices of triangle A, C, and D. Okay. So they're saying those 3 points are the corners, the vertices of A, C, D. It's very strange that they used letter A and they skipped B. They went to C, D. Somehow, strategically, B might be introduced. But let's continue. CA, where is C? Oh, there is C, there is A. They say intersects the y-axis at F. Oh, yes. Makes sense. AC or CA, it does intersect the y-axis at that point, and this point is called F. Okay. And CA produced cuts the x-axis in G. Remember, guys, the word produced simply means extended in other words. So that means from that point, which is point F, when they extend or produce that same line, it hits the x-axis at that point, and that point they call it point G. So always remember that something or a line can either be extended or produced. But most importantly, the reason why they had to emphasize fact that it has been produced or extended is because it tells you a lot about the gradients. That means if you have that line, let's say that line from there, and they say this is line A, this is line B. The moment examiner says produced or extended, they are simply saying it continues with the same gradient. So that means if you calculated gradient of point A and B, let's say the gradient was 2. So the moment examiner saying produced or extended, in other words, they are simply saying this section which has been produced, it's actually an extension or a collinear to A and B, meaning the gradient is also 2. So that's something that you need to also be aware of. Meaning, if you calculate the gradient of AC, you won't need to stress about the gradient of a, what is it, AG. Or if you have the gradient of FC, you don't need to worry about the gradient of FA or AG, because it has been produced or extended from that same line, continuing with the same gradient. Okay, let's now continue. The straight line DE, straight line D, where's, oh, there is D, there it's E. So that means this is a straight line DE, okay, is drawn parallel to CA. Parallel to CA. Where is C? There is C. Where is A? There is, okay, now it makes sense. You can also see with those that those two lines are parallel. Remember, parallel lines equal gradients. Parallel lines equal gradients. Parallel lines equal gradients. Perpendicular lines, I'm pretty much sure that you guys remember on our lesson that we did where we did an introduction to analytical geometry. That's where we discussed everything that you need to know, everything that you need to be aware of regarding analytical geometry. And we also discussed parallel lines having having equal gradients. And again, we discussed perpendicular lines, whereby when you multiply the gradient of one line and the gradient of the other line, they give you -1. Those are some of the important information that you need to always remember. So they are now saying in triangle CFO. Yes, in triangle CFO, angle F, it is the one which is actually called alpha. Very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen, over there. In triangle C, F being that point, and then O being the origin. Angle F, it is the one which is named alpha. So this is all the information that we have got. As I've indicated, it's load shedding on my side, so we won't waste much of our time, but straight away start answering the questions. Most importantly, guys, in all of my lessons, in case if there is something not well explained or if it doesn't make sense, please, honorable members, please make sure not to let me continue without you fully understanding all that was explained. I'm hoping to finish these questions in less than an hour, just to avoid a situation where after some time I lose connection. But before I start with question 3.1, is there anyone who's got a question or all that I've explained, does it make sense to everyone? Luyanda, are you okay that side, honorable member? You haven't got any questions up to this point?
No, sir.
Pal? No, it's not Pal, but it's Pel. Pel, buddy, buddy, are you okay that side? You haven't got any questions up to this point?
Yes, sir, I'm okay.
Okay, last one. Mula Muleli, are you okay, honorable member? Mula Muleli, no. No questions up to this point?
Yeah. No
Okay.
questions, sir.
Then it's fine. Let's continue. Most importantly, make sure that you do not allow me to continue without you fully understanding all that. Okay, so let's see. 3.1 says calculate the gradient of the line AC. Moleboge, These questions, honorable member, they repeat and they revolve around all that we discussed. I'm not sure if you are at a stage where you realize that, honorable member. I'm sure you've attended many lessons and you'll realize it's either they want you to calculate the gradient, distance, midpoint, determine an equation of a straight line, an angle, and sometimes they might say an area of a particular shape. So I am now about to answer 3.1, which says calculate the gradient of AC. So I do know very well that the gradient is that small letter m, which is equals to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Firstly, write down the formula. It is the one that is going to guide you to say you need two things. Remember, analytical geometry, a game of two things. Very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen, over there. At all the times when dealing with analytical geometry, ask yourself, do you have two things? Let's see, in this case, they're talking about A and C. Do I have two things? Yes, I've got the coordinates of A and the coordinates of B. Between A and C, hey, between A and C, the ruling party. Okay, let's see. Between A and C, which point will be your x? I think since A comes first, let's say this is x1 and x. No, x1 and y1. And then C comes second. This is going to be x2, y2. So that is why we're going to say our y2 is that one there being 11 minus our y1 being 3 over our x2 being 10 minus from the formula our x1 being, remember, it's a negative value, and we said in our lessons a negative value means a hot pot, and you need to put on the gloves so that you don't get burned. That is why that negative, I'm putting it inside the bracket. So let's see, what is 11 minus 3? Is
the whole answer is 2 over 3.
2 over 3. Let's see if it's going to give us 2 over 3. This is 12. And then 4 goes 2 times into that, and then 4 goes 3 times. Yes, 100%. I agree with honorable member there. So that means you will be given a mark for correct substitution and for correct final answer. Moleboge, what gives us an indication or the confidence that this gradient is correct? Do you want to give it a guess?
Yeah, because it's positive. Because of the first quadrant, the other it's we have a positive gradient.
100%. So if you guys remember, we did say for all the lines which end in the first quadrant and the third quadrant, when you extend it, they will always have a positive gradient. That is how you sort of get the confidence that possibly that answer is correct. So I think that was a pretty much a easy and straightforward question. So let me quickly write it down there, just in case if we will need it in future. So this is you in exam with a pencil saying m for that line, it's equals to 2 over 3. So I'm just going to remove all of this. Then very quickly, we now look at 3.2. I'm not sure if there's any one of you who would like to give it a try. But also, just in case if you got confused by the first question, you can let me know. But I know everyone in grade 11, you are at a stage where you fully understand how to calculate the gradient. Most importantly, you might need to catch up if you are attending my lesson for the very first time today, because this is not the starting point of this chapter. So 3.2, anyone who would like to guide us in terms of how do we go about that one? The question says, determine the equation of line DE in the form y is equals to mx plus c. We want you to determine an equation of that line in that form.
Can I try it?
Yebo, go for it, honorable member.
Already, because our lines are parallel, we have a gradient, which is our m is equals to 2/3.
Sir, we can't hear you properly.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have a point. We have a point at D. So we substitute the m, and then we take the -1. We substitute our y is -1. Our 5 is equals to x. Then we multiply everything. Then we substitute. Then we get our c. Then we write it as that.
100%. I'm just not sure if everyone got that, because there was honorable member saying, it's fine, Moleboge, I will then take it from here. There was an honorable member saying they can't clearly hear. Let me just confirm. Leslie, was it you, or can you hear me from your side? Is everything clear on your side?
Yes, sir.
Moleboge, it's fine. You can mute your mic, honorable member. Bosisiwe, can you clearly hear me, honorable member? Pell, can you clearly hear me?
I can hear you. Yes, I can hear you, sir.
Okay, so the honorable member who just indicated they are not able to clearly hear me. In case if it happens that you fail to hear me, firstly try to leave and then rejoin. Leave and then rejoin. Just in case if it does the same thing again, then it's an indication that actually the problem is on my side. So this is what Moleboge was saying. And she said it with confidence because Moleboge, it's one of our learners who attends any maths lesson. She doesn't choose whether it's a grade 10, 11, or 12. She attends. So she realized that actually these questions are repeating almost in every grade. So that is why in most cases I say maths is maths, regardless of whether you're in grade 10, 11, or 12. Questions will always, not necessarily always, but in most cases be the same. The only difference is the trickiness in how they ask those questions. So you learn by doing something many times. It doesn't matter how good your teacher is. If they tell you something once and it ends there, you don't take the effort to study it multiple times. It might be tricky in case if a question comes differently, but if you do something over and over again, you tend to even be more clever to derive some questions that you find interesting, and some questions you find that it's something that you might find in. So let's see. Honorable member is saying because of these two lines are parallel to each other, that means y is equals to 2/3x plus c for this line DE or ED. And most importantly, we need a point, which is point D. Why point D? Because we are looking for an equation of that line. So that is why we need a point on that line. So if we had this point E, we were also going to either use point E or point D. So now what we do is to substitute and find the C value, which means at all the times when examiner says determine an equation, whether it's an equation of a straight line, parabola, hyperbola, or exponential, always, when they say determine an equation, they are simply saying rewrite it as a y and x only. If you have m, you have to find m. If there's c, you have to find c. If there's a on your equation, you have to find a. If there's b, you need to find b. So now let's see. -1 is equals to 2 over that plus that. So, Moleboge, it's either you can multiply or you can just take it as it is to the other side as a negative sign. But otherwise, you can still say -1, that by that, it gives you 10 over 3, plus c, you take this to the other side, and you say -1 minus 10 over 3 is equals to c, then you get your c value. But otherwise, this is what I was saying. I was saying you can still say -1. Can you see? This thing, you take it as it is, but you just say -2 over 3 into 5. Then you punch all of it. It gives you the C value. So that's what I meant there. Just to give you some more options in which you can work out those type of problems. So what is the C value for those of you guys who have calculated it? What is the C value?
-13 over 3.
-13 over 3. Is honorable member correct on that one? So that means y it's equals to
Yes, she's correct.
2 over 3x minus 13 over 3. So can you see that's how you determine an equation of a straight line of line DE. I'm not sure if there's anyone who's got a question, honorable members, based on what we have done there before we move on to the next question. Anyone who's got a question, or does it make sense to everyone?
Sir, can you please repeat it?
Who's the honorable member speaking there?
Me, sir, Lindiwe.
Lindiwe. Oh, Lindy, okay. I see. Lindiwe, unmute your mic, honorable member, and let's quickly do it in a form of a dialogue so that I will know that you understood. Let's see. They want you to determine an equation of that straight line. But do you agree that these two lines which are parallel have equal gradients? Lindiwe, remain
Yes,
unmuted, honorable member. Okay. So that means the gradient of line ED is also equals to 2 over 3. So that means already we are having y, it's equals to that. Okay, remind me, Lindiwe, we are trying to determine an equation of which line?
Is it E, sir?
E, it's a point, but which line? So you can also check it from the question. So they want us to determine an equation of a ED, not E. E alone, it's a point. A line has to be 2 points. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now do we have the coordinates of point D or E?
Point D.
We have point D. So that is why we are going to say at where point D has these coordinates. Then all that you do is to use that point to calculate the C value. So can you see this is your y 2 over 3 is your gradient, and then you have your x being 5. So this is your x, this is your y. Then all you do is to solve for C, where you can punch that, and then you are having 10 over 3 plus C. You take this to the other side. Honorable members say when you say -1 minus 10 over 3, I think they said -13 over what? Over 3. What did you guys say? Was it over 3? I think you said negative that. So now, can you see you've determined an equation of that line where the gradient is that because they are parallel, you solved for the C value, you got it to be that. I'm not sure if it makes sense, honorable member of the opposition party, Lindiwe. Who's that honorable member? Lindiwe Sisu. Is it?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Thank you.
Does it make sense, Lindy?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Sir,
100%. So now, yes,
sir, may you please give
Yebo.
us the mark allocation?
The mark allocation, I think for you to substitute that, I think you deserve a mark, honorable member. And again, for you to correctly substitute that x and y value, you deserve a mark. For solving for the c value, you don't deserve a mark because this is grade 10 stuff. You are not allocated
Oh,
marks for simplification, but for that final answer, I'm going to give you a mark there. Are you satisfied, Pearl?
yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, 100%. So I'm just going to remove all of that, and then we move on to question number 3. Let's see. 3.3 says calculate the size of alpha. I'm telling you, none of you are going to get this one correct. And I can tell you, Muleboge, this question is more trickier than the one that we did for grade 12 yesterday. So, this is an indication that you don't only get difficult questions in grade 12. You can still get a difficult question in grade 10, of which for the same chapter, but you get a simple question in grade 12. So never ever underestimate a grade and say because it's a lower grade, it means easy stuff. For as long as you can't solve any math problem in grade 10, it means you are not yet ready for 100% in grade 12. So let's see. Anyone would like to give it a try? That one. Calculate the size of alpha.
Hey, you scared me, but let me try.
Okay. Give it a try, honorable member.
So I'll start by using the formula of tan beta or tan alpha is equals to m, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And then I know my m, so I'll say I'll substitute my m there. I'll write tan.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and then I'll say it's yes, and then I'll shift the tongue. I'll shift that tongue to the other side. Yes,
This is what you mean, isn't it?
yes, this is what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And I got 33.69.
33.69. Remember, you have to include degrees. Otherwise, I'm thinking, hey, it's just a number. So if you don't write degrees, I'm not going to give you a mark for that. So, okay, is it done or do we continue, honorable member?
I was looking. So for me, I would stop here because I think this is the size. This is what I have received. This is the size. So maybe
Okay,
you'll correct me from here.
okay. Anyone who would like to add on to this or subtract from that? It's a very positive move in a positive direction. But now, anyone who'd like to add or subtract from that, remember, guys, in case if you heard what I said and you've got no idea, please mention to say no idea so that I know you got the question and I'm going to explain. Hey, Matapelo, wa o ka re wena o lebeletse Gomora ko wena? Ngwana Mameja, akutshepi wena. Okay, let's give it a try. So Moleboge, very much important that you remembered this formula because an angle is involved. But the question is, the angle that you are looking for, is it more than 90 or is it less than 90? So that's how you interpret a problem before you even solve it. So if you remember, let me maybe try to redraw that. And also let me just quickly remove all of that and say, this angle alpha, when you look at it, does it seem to be an angle which is less than 90 degrees or greater than 90 degrees? This
It's
angle.
less than 90 degrees. It's not
Less than
more.
90 degrees. Okay. Let me do this. Let me do this, Moleboge. Let me try to rotate this and draw it differently and say, if you have this, I've just drawn the same thing, but I've actually rotated it. This straight line, this straight vertical line, I made it that horizontal line. And then that one, it is this one, I have that angle. It's the same thing. So this angle, that same angle, is it less than or greater than 90?
It's greater than 90 now.
And then what about this one? Greater than or less than?
Because for me to say it's not greater than 90, it's because I'm looking at the quadrant which is indicated that it's in quadrant 1. Hence I was saying it's not more.
Oh, okay. Okay. You have said something very much important there. Maybe let me try to simplify this issue of angles in the simplest way. So, when we talk about an angle, honorable members, you can temporarily
Yeah, you.
You are
forget
cutting. You are cutting.
We
about
can't hear you, sir.
the quadrant. I will explain
Yeah, we
that
are cutting
until
you.
Moleboge says,
I can't hear you. You are cutting.
hello, I come back. I was disconnected. Someone to quickly confirm. Can you guys
So you're still
hear me
cutting.
before
You're
I
cutting. You're still cutting.
re-explain?
You're still cutting. Like, you're still cutting, sir. Like,
Pearl, am I still breaking? Still
yes, sir, you
breaking.
are. You're still breaking. You're still breaking.
Okay, let me leave and okay,
Still
let's see.
breaking.
How about now? Still breaking.
We can hear you.
Okay. Moleboge, this is what I was about to explain, honorable member. You say when we talk about an angle, it's not really about the quadrant in which it is, but it's about an opening between two lines. An opening between two lines. So, can you see an opening between this line and that line? That's what tells you if the angle will be greater than or less than 90. So you just draw a sefapano at the intersection of those two lines. So this is already 90 degrees and you still have that extra angle there. Similarly, if you want to know if this angle is less or greater than, you draw sefapano where those two lines meet. So if you draw a sefapano there, can you see you already have a 90 degree there and that extra angle? I'm not sure, Muleboge, if that makes sense, honorable member.
No, you are making sense. I'm getting you right now.
Yeah, so the tricky part in this question is the fact that this angle is not starting from the x-axis. Can you see? If you had a line similar to that, can you see? This
Yes.
angle, it starts from the x-axis.
Okay. No, I
And
see.
if you draw Sefapano there, you realize that you actually have 90 degrees there, but this angle, can you see, it's less than that 90 degrees. Can you see? So that's
Yeah,
how
I
you
can see.
interpret a problem, which means that angle, it has to be greater than 90 degrees. So that means the 33 comma something, it builds up towards an answer. Let me quickly explain
Okay.
this one so that I manage with this poor network. So, how you work out that problem? Let's firstly discuss. Do you guys agree that we have that line and then we have that line there? I'm not sure if you guys agree with me that okay, there is that angle. Let me just say there is that angle, and we have that x-axis there. Do you guys agree with me when I say if we do sefapano there? Let's maybe try to do that sefapano there. If we do sefapano there, where those two things intersect, do you guys agree that we actually have 90 degrees plus that smallanyana angle there? Do you guys agree with me on that one?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So this angle, this smallanyana angle, that one we know is 90, but this smallanyana angle, it is the one that we call an angle of inclination, Moleboge, which is what you just calculated. So it's more like you used that 2/3 in order to calculate this angle of
There on my
inclination.
side.
What did Matapelo say? Am I still breaking?
On my side, I can hear you clearly.
Me too, sir.
Matapelo, try to quickly leave and rejoin. So what I was saying was Moleboge, what you did was actually to calculate an angle of inclination, because that one is calculated with reference to that horizontal line. So that means what you had to do, it was to actually say, actually that angle alpha, it is going to be 90 degrees, being this 90 plus angle of inclination, which is this smallanyana angle, which is the same as that. So you actually used what you know about this formula, which says m is equals to tan of angle. Then you said, what is it? You know that m is equals to, maybe let me rewrite it the other way around and say, tan angle is equals to m. It doesn't matter whether you write it like that or like that. It depends on what you're calculating. So now a second function of tan a gradient being 2 over that. What did we get as that angle? What did you get there, Moleboge? You said it
It's
was
33.69.
0.69 degrees. So can you see, you are therefore going to add it with that 90, and that's how you get your alpha there. So that means if a question comes, Bantu Bagit, check if the angle involved starts from the x-axis. If it starts from the x-axis and, for example, it goes to that line, then this is what we call an angle of inclination. You just do that, you get 33 point something, then it's done. But if it starts from the y-axis, you might need to do that sefapano there and know that this part is going to be 90 plus that smallanyana angle. So that smallanyana angle, you get it by using tan angle is equals to m. That means you will need to know the gradient of that line. And then from there, that's when you can then add it to that smaller, that 90. Yes, I'm not sure if honorable members understand what I've done there. Does it make sense, guys? Are you having some light in your nanyana there? Because one thing for sure, it might not be everyone understanding it, because some of you guys are attending in the middle of the chapter. But are you guys having some light?
I'm having light now.
Anyone to also indicate if you are having some light?
I'm having light too, sir.
Okay, 100%. So for those of you guys who are unsure, this lesson is being recorded. What you need to do, try to redo this question. Remember, what is this plus that? That is your final answer for this question. You write it in degrees. So try to redo this question again, and you will realize what I'm explaining. But most importantly, don't start with this question. Start from where I started. So Moleboge, what happens in most cases is that in class, they will teach you where you use this formula and not include that one of 90, because that's where you apply your understanding of maths. Come exam, you get it wrong, but you say, I've used that formula and that's what we were told in class. Whereas you do have to use that formula, but you need to be strategic. So these are some of the things which are not easy to teach using a textbook. That is why it's very much important that you study using past exam question papers, because you get to understand how questions may be tricky. But because you know, it might come in grade 12, but come differently, and you'll remember that this angle, does it start from the x-axis or does it start from the y-axis? Then you know, if from the x-axis, is simple, but if it's from that, you might need to add a 90 there. And most importantly, angle doesn't necessarily mean that it's in the first quadrant, second, third, or whatever. Angle simply means an opening between two lines. If we are looking at that angle, you say an opening between this line and that line. If you do Sefapano where those two lines meet, you realize that, okay, this line, it could be a bit bigger, just for you to have an idea whether the angle will be less than 90, closer to 90, or more than 90. So let's see.
You have delivered me from a huge ignorance. Truly, there I was using quadrants. So thank you so much. You have enlightened me.
So can you see? It helps with this type of discussions, Moleboge, because it's not only you who realized that. So that is why I say I welcome all the comments, whether wrong or correct. Because imagine if you kept quiet, I wasn't going to explain that. I was just going to continue doing the right or the correct calculation. And some of the other honorable members wouldn't have noticed that. Okay, so let's see. 3.4 says B. Where is B? Yes, can you see now? They are now talking about B, of which they excluded that letter at first. So let's see. B is a point in the first quadrant. B, it's a point in the first quadrant such that A, B, D, E in this order forms a rectangle. But we know that a rectangle is something similar to that. Maybe let me try to do as if I'm drawing a rectangle. What did they say? They said A, this is A, going to B, and then B, they said it's in the first quadrant. So I'm just assuming maybe somewhere there. And then they say D, there is D, E, in that order forms a rectangle. So can you guys see? Ka leihlo la moya. A ke tsebe horeng ka leihlo la moya. What do we call that? Enkonzweni bantu ba. Ngelihlo le moya. What do they say? Spiritual. Yes. Can you guys with a spiritual eye see a rectangle? Me, I can see a rectangle there with a spirit. Okay, let's see. Calculate giving reasons. There, 3.4.1 coordinates of M, the midpoint of BE. So that means this is that spiritual B. So let's see. They want the midpoint of BE. Hebanna. Kwenzenjani manje? B. They just spoke about B. Don't even have the coordinates. Heaven. Now they're talking about, we don't. Hey, bantu bakithi. Sizoyenza kanjani lento le? Zoyixazulula kanjani? Anyone would like to give it a try very quickly before I start working on it? In case of no idea, please mention to say no idea. Baleka ngenyawo zobili uNkulunkulu babalekile angisababona angisabazwa baleka ngenyawo zobili baleka. Hey, these guys are still here. Leslie Dama Leslie's. I thought ubalekile. Mzozozo. Ngicabanga ukuthi ule pheshe kanti usasekhona la. Yandiswa. I'm about to make an assumption that you guys have got no idea. Them are Pellies. Pelly them a Pel. Are you still there, buddy? Luyanda.
Yes, sir.
Okay. This is what happens. You guys need to remember this at all the times. It's unfortunate this is being done in grade 11 and the grade 12 guys are not here, but they might come across this. You need to understand that always when you have a rectangle, the midpoint of this point and that point, let's say we are having A, B, C, and D. This is what happens. The midpoint of that line being somewhere there is the same as the midpoint of that line because it's a rectangle having those diagonal lines. I'm not sure if it makes sense, honorable members.
No, I think it does. So if the midpoint of AC it's then equivalent to the midpoint of DC, does it mean we can use AD to get the midpoint of BE?
Yes, exactly that.
Okay.
That means the midpoint of that is the same midpoint as that, which is that one somewhere there. So it is as easy as that. That's why it's allocated 3 marks. It means it is as easy as that. It's not only on a rectangle, even on a square. If you have those diagonal lines, they share the midpoint. That's what you always need to remember, Bantu Bakiti. So that means very quickly, you're just going to say the midpoint of a BD, BE, is the same as the midpoint of what? Wait, what am I saying? The midpoint of BE is the same as the midpoint of AD. Then you can therefore do that thing, x1 plus x2 over 2, y1 plus y2 divided by 2. Let's see, the midpoint of B, what? BE. What is that? What is x1? So you can either use that one being -2, you plus it with 5, you divide it by 2. What about this one? Is 3 there, y1 plus that one is -1, and then you divide it by 2. So that means the midpoint of BE is finally, what is this? I think that is 3 over 2. What is this? I think that is 1. Yes, this is it. I'm not sure if it makes sense to everyone, or does it make sense to me alone?
Makes sense, sir.
Sure.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
100%. So in giving a reason, you just say diagonals of a rectangle. Agree, you know these lines are what we call the diagonals of what? Of rectangle. So whether you call it rectangle or rectangle doesn't matter. Oksalayo sitholile. I'm telling you, Bantu Bakiti, I think you deserve a mark for the reason, and also for correct substitution, and then for final answer. I'm not going to give you a mark for that formula because you probably scored some marks in grade 10 for that formula. Otherwise, it was given to you in the formula sheet. So I'm not going to give you a mark for that. Okay, this is going to be the code for today's lesson. What is the code PEL? This indicates that you did attend today's lesson. Your parents are going to check if you are not banking the classes, and we'll just scroll up to check if you have attended. So this is what you're going to comment at the end of this lesson. Within this, listen very carefully. A day without learning something new, it's a day wasted. Within that sentence, just choose any letter and use it as the code. Do not write it in full. Do not say a day without learning something new. Someone may say a, someone may say day, someone may say without, someone may say learning. So that is going to be the code for today's lesson. I'm pretty much sure that someone who did not attend won't be able to crack today's code. So just remember that. I'm about to wrap up before I lose a connection. So let's see. What is the last question saying? Let's see. Length of diagonal BE. Now they want the length of BE. Anyone would like to give it a try? Exactly what you are thinking is correct. I'm telling you. Exactly what you are thinking is correct. Length of diagonal BE. Anyone would like to give it a try?
Let me give it a try, because we are still speaking about the diagonal. So it means
Hey,
even our AD. Even our even our AD would still be equals to our BE.
You get it? If you don't get it,
Forget about it.
forget about it. Okay, 100% honorable member. Exactly that. That's what I was saying. Exactly what you're thinking is correct. Whether it's dingonal, whether it's mugonal, whether it's diagonal, whether it's, hey, if you don't get it, forget about it. So the distance of a BE, we know the distance formula, Mus, is what? X2 minus X1 close squared plus Y2 minus Y1 squared. But most importantly, I think it might worth it for you to just say, Mr. Examiner, look, the distance of AD, it's actually equals to the distance of BE because of its diagonal line. So that means as far as a rectangle is concerned, you know that the diagonal lines have equal distance, and most importantly, they share the same midpoint. Very, very much important. And also, this side is parallel to that side for a rectangle. This side parallel to that side for a rectangle. And this side equals to that, that equals to that, that equals to that. Very, very much important. Hey, let's quickly finalize, and then from there, we'll be done for today. So let's see, what will be our X2? Matapelo, what are you saying there, honorable member? Am I breaking? I think it's almost an hour now, and I'm suspecting very soon I'm going to lose connection. Eh? Am I moving too fast? Was that what honorable member was saying? I couldn't hear that. I couldn't hear that, Matapelo. But in case if I'm moving too fast, do not worry that much. I think since it's being recorded, especially this part, the reason why I'm a bit fast is because I realize it's an easy exercise to do. You will realize when I substitute. Can you see? Between A and D, D comes second. That is why I'm going to take this as my X2, Y2, X1, Y1. So you just substitute X2, can you see it's 5 minus X1 inside the brackets. Remember to square that because it's in most cases where you forget. Y2, hot pot inside the gloves, minus that one is 3, there you close, you square. And then you say, you punch that on your calculator. Whatever that you get is the distance of that diagonal line. While everyone is still calculating, Machapelo, can you come again, honorable member? I couldn't hear you. I suspected you saying I'm moving too fast. What were you saying, honorable member?
I was saying the speed.
Oh, okay. No, that means I heard you correctly. But do you understand now what I've done there?
Understand.
Okay. So I knew it that this part is not that much complicated because you just identify the formula, you substitute, just like the gradient formula. But what I had to emphasize was the fact that this line has the same distance as that line because they are diagonal lines and they share the midpoint. So that's something new that you had to learn out of that. But with regards to calculating that, it's what you know. So you just do it exactly how you know. But what is our final answer there before I wrap up?
65.
Is it everyone getting 65? I don't trust Pearl. Pearl angikuthembi ntombo.
Square root of 65, yes.
Hey, Pearl, did you say 65 or square root of 65?
But who say I said 65?
You said square root of 65.
I said 65.
You see? Hey, now we're getting two different answers. Is it 65 or square root of 65? Which one is it?
65.
Hi. Why is out say Pepel? I'm going to punch it. Let's see.
So do we leave it in third form or?
No. You leave it as it is.
Oh, I forgot to put it like in the. Oh.
Hey, square root of 65. This is what I'm getting, Bantu Bagiti. Wabona repel when I donate the square root way. Donate the square root. Ke phele ko Motsepe Foundation. Donate the square root. Lindiwe, are you also donating square roots, honorable member? Mzozozo, are you okay that side? Lapo Eastern Cape.
Okay, sir. I never donated the square root.
Hey, ngiyakwazi ukuthi wena angeke udonate mzozozo. Wena udonate lutho wena. Bantu bakithi, I'm about to sign out. Luckily, we managed to complete this question, but most importantly, anyone who has that final question, or are you all happy? Any question, or are you all happy? Mzozozo, uyangivumela ukuthi ngiphume?
Yes, sir. We're happy, sir.
Okay, guys, thanks very much for joining. My name is Desmond. You guys have a very good night, and I'm out.
Bye.
Bye.